Mizzou officially kicks off the SEC season tonight versus Central Arkansas, and more injuries at Alabama. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And as we mentioned on today's show, we are loaded. We're going to go around the conference in segment one. We'll get you caught up with all the latest news, including Mizzou starting their season tonight. We got injuries at Alabama. We got plenty to get into there. Segment two, we actually were able to be part of a conference call yesterday with Greg McElroy. We're able to get some SEC questions in for him. And then lastly, we caught up with Chris Fallica on our radio station yesterday, and we're able to ask him some questions about some of the games this weekend, Texas-OSU State, LSU-Clemson, as well as share some memories all those years on College GameDay with Lee Corso. Now, of course, Chris, part of the Fox Big Noon Kickoff. But we got plenty to get into, man. Let's dive into it. And we got to start over at Missouri, as we found out, obviously, last week, that they are going to be splitting the halves with their quarterback. So Eli Drinkwitz, on his coach's show the other night, asked about the rotating the Mizzou quarterbacks. Of course, Pete Thamel put out there that Beau Pribula, the former Penn State quarterback, will start the first half, and Sam Horn will play the second. And based on how they do in that one, Drinkwitz will make a decision as to who will be QB1 heading into the Kansas game in week 2. Coach's show, Tiger Talk, Drinkwitz saying there's no way, no great way to do it. Somebody's got to run out there first. Everybody's going to get an opportunity to play. I don't know what the game will be like at halftime. But, of course, Pribula enters with the most experience, backed up Drew Aller last year, while Sam Horn was a 4-star recruit in 2022. So pitcher as well on the baseball team, of course, had a big injury a couple of years ago. Got drafted by the LA Dodgers back in July. We'll see how this thing plays out tonight with both quarterbacks. But, look, I'm excited about the run game. I mean, Eli Drinkwitz has always had good run game ever since he stepped foot at Mizzou. Ahmad Hardy, a transfer from ULM, expected to be a big-time playmaker. Who's going to be that next, big wide receiver for Mizzou? Luther Burden's gone. He's in the NFL. So who's going to emerge? That's what I'm excited to see. Excited to see some of these pieces on the defense, particularly up front. Who's going to emerge as big-time edge rushers? Look, I get it. It's Central Arkansas. So not a whole lot to glean from this game other than Mizzou should get an idea of who their QB1 is. It's a big game against Kansas in the non-conference. It's a rivalry game next week. So big, decision to be made. And here's hoping Beau Pribula or Sam Horn, whoever, emerges tonight and has a good game and becomes a starter there. All right, how about over at Alabama? We have had a couple of injuries here at Alabama the last week or so. Jam Miller, of course, we know is going to miss significant time, expected to be back for the Georgia game in a couple of weeks. We know that Jaden Roberts, he's banged up and not going to play in this one, was expected to at least contribute on the Alabama offensive line. Don't know if he was going to start at guard, but was certainly going to be a contributor there. And then we found out yesterday that Alabama team captain and starting defensive tackle Tim Keenan is going to, first we found out he is going to miss this week. And then we found out that he is going to have surgery. Earlier on Wednesday on the teleconference, Kalen DeBoer confirming that Keenan had a lower body injury. He said, our staff is unbelievable. They've done pretty impressive things on getting guys back. Waiting on the update of the severity of his injury. Don't know if I can even give you a percentage to be confident on if he's going to play, but it's a lower body injury. Well, we On3 later reporting that he is going to have tightrope surgery prior to this game, and it's expected to be out multiple weeks before he returns. So, again, think of it as, he was talking with our Locked On Bama guys, Jimmy Stein, saying, it's basically 3 starters out for Alabama, and that's, significant for your week 1 game on the road at Florida State against a Florida State team that is very new looking. We don't know what the hell to expect out of this Florida State team. They went 2-10 last year, yeah, but all those guys are gone. It's a whole new offense, basically, new quarterback and new offensive line, new wide receivers. So I have no idea what to expect. Everybody still feels good. I've talked to, Alabama wins and wins big. Okay, sure, let's go with it. But we just won't know until they kick off. I think Alabama's got better players, obviously. Defense should be flying around out there. But we did find out that as of last night, thunderstorms and scattered rain are expected in Tallahassee right at about kickoff. And Kalen DeBoer said that they've been preparing for that. He said on his coach's show Wednesday night that wet balls that are wet with soap on them, anything to make it as slippery as possible so the team really has to focus. I'm trying to give them the worst case scenario of what it could be, but that's part of what we're doing, getting ready, because that's certainly a possibility in this game. So if it's raining, who knows? This thing could become a slop fest. We shall see. One other note, LT Overton of Alabama talking about, asked about Thomas Castellanos and his comments, and a couple weeks ago saying that, they're coming for Alabama and they expect to win and all that. Well, LT Overton said, look, we just listened to our leaders. Disrespect will be addressed accordingly. So Alabama, never been one to make headlines and talk trash publicly. How about over at Tennessee? Tight end Miles Kitselman, torn pectoral muscle he suffered back in March. Didn't know how much that was going to linger. Well, according to Josh Heupel on the conference call yesterday, asked if the tight end is 100% healthy. And Josh Heupel said, yeah, he is. So expect Miles Kitselman to be a full go against Syracuse on Saturday. Still waiting to hear on Jamad McCoy and his full availability and health. And, of course, I want to see what Joey Aguilar looks like against Syracuse on Saturday morning. Quick note on Texas and Ohio State. The YouTube and Fox carriage dispute isn't quite resolved yet, but according to a tweet, the two parties have reached a short-term extension ahead of the game this weekend. So they had a 5 p.m. deadline on Wednesday to get a deal done. So it sounds like you will still be able to catch that game on Saturday with this short-term extension that they've come to. So we'll see ultimately. But look, it's on Big Fox. Get an antenna. You can pick up local Fox on your TV. Speaking of Texas, how about SEC Network analyst Jordan Rogers? This week on Get Up on Wednesday on ESPN, asked about what he's seen on film from Arch Manning. And Jordan Rogers, a skeptic. Here's what he said. He said, watching film, the hype doesn't match the tape. There are good things, and there are some good things, but the tape, to me, doesn't say you've got a top 10 draft pick or a first-round draft pick or a Heisman hopeful. I think he's going to go into Ohio State, and I think he's going to struggle. Now, look, maybe Jordan Rogers being on a hot take TV show like Get Up, maybe just trying to put a hot take out there. But certainly, look, he's a guy who played college and knows what it takes to play at this level. But I seem to remember back, I hate to bring this up for Jordan, but there a take in 2019 where he had Joe Burrow going in that season rated as like his 7th or 8th best quarterback in the SEC. And then Burrow became Burrow. So I don't know. Again, take it with a grain of salt. But Jordan Rogers saying the hype doesn't match the tape on Arch Manning. How about over at Texas A&M? Mike Elko excited to get Lavian Moss back and was putting up a career season last year before he got hurt in that South Carolina game. Well, Moss is expected to be a full go this weekend. Of course, he tore the ACL and MCL last year, 9 months of recovery time, and he's expected to go out there and start this weekend for A&M against UTSA. Moss, speaking with the media, asked about is he going to do anything to try to avoid getting hit a little bit, run out of bounds if he has to. Lavian Moss saying, I'm a man. Running out of bounds is like running from a fight. So Lavian Moss, he's going to take the hits. He is ready to get back out there. And how about Lenore Sellers, SEC coach, dismissing the Lenore Sellers hype, saying he reminds me of Anthony Richardson. A new ESPN feature that came out yesterday. Adam Rittenberg talked with coaches around the sport to get their thoughts on some of the players and teams. And one of the quarterbacks they focused on was Lenore Sellers. And most agreed that Sellers can make some amazing plays. But according to one SEC coach, he said, I can't get behind the Lenore Sellers hype. He reminds me of Anthony Richardson. And I know Anthony Richardson went 4th overall in the draft. Physically, he's a freak. But is he a great quarterback? So challenge issued for Lenore Sellers. Man, you have to comparing him to Anthony Richardson. Look, right now it's looking like Anthony Richardson might be a bust in the NFL. We'll see what happens if he can get healthy with the Colts, but fighting words there. So certainly want to see what Lenore Sellers can do this season. All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, our conversation with Greg McElroy. You don't want to miss that right here on Locked On SEC. Hey, we first want to remind you guys about our friends at Upside. And this goes for all you SEC fans. Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. You simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use our promo code Locked On College, and you can get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, you'll think it's too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app using our limited time promo code. Actually, the code is football, FOOTBALL, for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code football. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. And hey, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands of the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, and their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you use the part finder, you will find all the tools and 3D schematics will save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. And you can join the free Trade Master program today. Score some serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. All you got to do is visit supplyhouse.com. Sign up for free. Use our code SHCollege5. Get 5% off your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Well, along here, Locked On SEC. And hey, first, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. It's your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, answer everything about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Hey, yesterday we were able to had a chance to get in some questions for ESPN college football analyst Greg McElroy, part of a conference call with the media and ESPN. Figured we'd bring you some of that here. And first up, we asked Greg about the Auburn game this weekend and what happens if the SEC has a really bad week one in terms of several losses. Curious your thoughts on what we're going to see out of Auburn on Friday night, real big test at Baylor, and then just your thoughts on this weekend for the SEC in general, that, you know, all the pressure of not winning 2 straight years without a championship. If they come out of this weekend bruised and bloodied, you know, what the narratives will be if they, you know, come up short.
I can't believe the SEC is going to even put a tee in the ground this weekend. You know, it's like, goodness gracious, you might as well just shut down the league. No championship since 22. Like, goodness gracious. I guess winning like what, 15 out of 17 wasn't good enough, or however many it was, or 14 out of 17. Look, here's the thing that I'll say about Auburn. I think they remain as dangerous as anybody in the SEC, but they also remain as unpredictable as anybody in the SEC. Now, this game in particular against Baylor is concerning. Just looking at what Auburn struggled with last year, what their quarterback, Jackson Arnold, struggled with at Oklahoma, and the challenges of playing against a guy like Dave Aranda, who is going to continually make the picture that Jackson Arnold's going to play against really cloudy. And in this style of offense that Hugh Freeze likes to implement, they basically have defenders that they pick out when they call a certain play, and they say, all right, that defender right there is the conflict defender. Like, that's the guy that we want to be in conflict when we run some of our offensive RPOs, and the offense is almost entirely predicated off of RPO. Well, when you're playing against Dave Aranda, who is the play caller there at Baylor and former LSU defensive coordinator and head coach at Baylor, he never allows you to directly pick out who that conflict defender is, because he's got a bunch of hybrid players and will utilize pressures but that aren't really pressures, and linebackers will blitz and defensive linemen will drop, and it just becomes very challenging. So I think the big key for Auburn is running the football, whether that's with their running backs or with the quarterback run game. If they can do that, they can simplify a little bit what Dave Aranda tries to attack them with. So that's what I'll be curious about early in the game. I also have heard that the offensive line should be a position of strength all off season, but it doesn't sound like they gelled well early in camp. That might be because of an improved defensive front, but I do think that this is going to be a very challenging game for Auburn in the front seven if their defensive line does not get after Sawyer Robertson. And if all of a sudden Baylor starts running the football with a 1,000-yard back from a year ago and Bryce Washington, like, then it's going to get real challenging because Auburn's going to have to scoot on up, and then Sawyer Roberts is going to take some shots downfield.
Next up, Greg McElroy was asked about what would be some advice he would give to Ty Simpson making his first start on the road as an Alabama quarterback.
Just be you. Don't press. I think the hard thing about, he's the first Alabama quarterback to make his first start on the road in 21 years. So it's been a while since we've seen a guy having to do that. And I don't think you can understate the challenges of going on the road into a hostile environment. And while I've played in obviously the late 2000s and the nonverbal communication was exclusively from player to player and nonverbal signals and things like that. Now with the coach to player, it makes it a little easier, and the players are a little more equipped to utilize nonverbal communication with the clap or with other things that they utilize throughout the season. So the operation won't be quite as different, and the learning curve maybe not quite as steep in today's day and age than it was when I was playing a million years ago, but it's still really, really hard. And there's going to be 2 or 3 plays throughout the game where you think a receiver is going to do something and he doesn't, because he didn't get the proper call. It's just that happens every single time. Now, you can't let that one mistake compound into a turnover, turn that into a catastrophic. There's going to be a situation in which your right guard, not pointing that guy, just your offensive line. Let's not point at one guy in particular. There's going to be a situation where he slides the wrong way because he hears rip and it's actually Liz. There's that happens. And it happens a lot more on the road. So I think stay within yourself, be efficient, have that internal clock when you drop back, knowing, hey man, I got to get rid of the football. I got to get rid of it quickly. Also, I think just make sure you trust your eyes, because this new defense that they're implementing at Florida State, it is complex and it is difficult on the quarterback. The best thing he has going for him is the experience that Parker Brailsford, the center, has. And allow Parker, his center, to be his eyes from the protection standpoint, and let him sort things out up front. You just worry about the progressions. That's just one less thing that he needs to worry about, and having the veteran center is massive.
All right, thanks again to Greg McElroy. Great stuff on that conference call with him. Still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And hey, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at GameTime. College football is back. We cannot be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. And let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why you got to use the GameTime app, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best price with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Pull up GameTime right now. Just a few taps, you're going to see amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. The app makes it super simple. You can even see the exact view from your seat before you buy. And honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way you're going to buy tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the GameTime app today. All right, rolling along here, Locked On SEC. And for those of you who follow us here on Locked On SEC, I also work on the other side with our radio station, working with the great Sean Salisbury. And we were able to catch up with Chris Bear Fallica yesterday. And, of course, Chris was a long time on the college game day set for years and years, since the 90s, with Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit working alongside of them. Eventually, they added him as an analyst / host on the show, sharing his betting expertise and all that. Well, Chris Fallica was on our radio station yesterday with our guy, Sean Salisbury, sharing his thoughts on the games this weekend, as well as some memories from Coach Lee Corso. So figured we'd bring you some of that here. First up, Bear was asked about the Arch Manning quote a couple days ago, where he said, asked about the target on their back. And he said, look, we're going for everyone else. The target's not on our back, but we've got a red dot on everyone else. Here was Bear's thoughts on Arch's quote.
Yeah, I love the idea, and I love the confidence, and I love the bravado. I think teams need more of that. If you're good, don't be afraid to say it and show it. Have self-confidence in yourself. I mean, having gone to University of Miami, and I was there in the late 80s or early 90s, and then the great teams that they had in the early 2000s, they walked that walk, and they welcomed the bravado. They welcomed the pressure. They love the competition, and I love it, because I think a lot of times people maybe try and steer clear of that, but the fact that they want the attention, they want the bullseye, they're looking to take shots at other people. That tells me they feel pretty good about where they are at this point in the year going into it.
Next up, Chris Fallica asked about what Texas can expect from this Ohio State defense with a new DC and Matt Patricia and a whole lot of new pieces on this defense.
I would think that they don't have a very good idea as to what Ohio State's going to do defensively, because you've got a new coordinator there now in Matt Patricia, who hasn't been in the college game. And I guess you can go back and look at some of the old Patriot stuff. You can look at some of the Lions stuff. You can look at the stops he's been in the NFL. But I think that's one of the more fascinating things about this matchup, because you've got not only Matt Patricia, a new coordinator on the defensive side, you've got Brian Hartline, a new coordinator on the offensive side as well. If I were Texas, I would be looking at some of the situational stuff, like what he likes to do on third down and things like that, the looks that he likes to bring. I think if you're Arch, I think, look, Sark is one of the best play callers in the sport. I don't think he's going to go into this game expecting Arch with a new group of wide receivers to go out there, throw all over Ohio State. I think you're going to see the Texas offensive line. I think you're going to see a lot of quarterback run. Look to put Arch in position. Look to put that offense in a position where you're looking at maybe 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2, and not really fall behind the chains. Because I think that's the biggest thing that Arch has going for him into this game is his ability to run, his ability to escape pressure and get out of the pocket. Whereas on the flip side, with Ohio State and Julian saying, he is not Will Howard. This is going to be a completely different Ohio State offense. Now, he can throw it better than Will Howard, and he has those great wide receivers. He certainly does not have the escapability and the run potential and the run threat that certainly Arch does in this game, and Will Howard did last year.
What about the other big game this weekend? What sort of chances does Bear give LSU to pull off the upset on the road at Clemson on Saturday?
I think they have a great chance to pull off the upset. It's funny, in the SEC, just to take a kind of a macro picture, I think all of the hype and excitement, and justifiably so, about Arch Manning, all of the narrative around Alabama, it's Bama, they'll be back. They lost 4 games where it was last year. They'll be back. It's Bama. But yeah, there's a big butt there, and the butt is sitting on the college game day set right now. And then you have the narrative around Georgia that a lot of people are saying, just trust Kirby and that staff. They'll be better with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. They don't need Carson Beck, but we don't know that. I almost wonder if the answer to like the question of who's the best team in the SEC, I wonder if the answer is LSU, when it's staring us right in the face and nobody's willing to believe it. I have questions about Clemson. I think you look at what Georgia did to them last year. I think you look at Louisville and South Carolina going to Clemson and winning. I know you've got a new defensive coordinator in Tom Allen, and that will probably change a few things schematically and make them a little bit better. But LSU doesn't take a backseat to anybody in the country talent-wise. They probably did more in the portal this year than maybe anyone in the country, with the exception of Miami. I think LSU has a great chance to go up there and win the game. I think one of the biggest things too is kind of that whole Brian Kelly game one narrative, where they lost a couple of games to FSU, they lost a game to USC. I think a lot of people are kind of hanging on that, but I'm not sold that Clemson is better than LSU. I'm not sold that Clemson is this like national title 11-1 type contender like a lot of people have them. So I think LSU has a great chance to go up there and win on Saturday night.
Next up, Bear was asked about the farewell to Lee Corso happening this Saturday on College GameDay, where Bear spent so many years.
Yeah, I think it's something that those of us who had been on the show for a while, we always knew it was going to come, and we thought maybe each of the last couple of years, could this be it? Could this be it? And he's been back, thankfully. It's going to be a fitting place for him to go out. The side of the first headgear is going to be the side of the final headgear, and never forget your first love is something that he always said. And I have to, from a personal standpoint, Lee is the one who gave me the nickname Bear. I mean, Kirk and I were sitting at a one day, and he walks over and just kind of mutters and looks at the table and looks at me and looks at the Kirk and looks at me again, and he just says, "Look at you, Fallica, you're like a bear. You eat, you sleep, you poop, and you take a nap, and you do it all over again." So, yeah, he didn't say poop, by the way. But I have him to thank for kind of creating that nickname, creating that persona, and just how he treated people, how genuine he was, especially like when Kirk and I first started together in '96, and kind of giving us little anecdotes, little quips. You could still tell that the coach was still there, and he was still fierier. And obviously, post-stroke, he turned into a little bit of a different type of personality. Wasn't as quick-witted and sharp as he used to be, but that's where I think you saw the best of the Game Day family. We all kind of put our arms around him and put him in the best position to succeed, and did everything for him to make sure that he was comfortable and never had to worry about being left alone on an island. And I think in general, I think the sport of college football, and maybe sports television as a whole, has Lee Corso to thank. Like, who's to say if this road show where schools were like campaigning to get Game Day to come to their crowd, Lee Corso to put on a piece of headgear in their stadium or outside in a town, like, if that doesn't take off, who's to say there's a big noon kickoff? Who's to say inside the NBA isn't going on the road and as popular as they are? So I think this kind of genre of like the traveling pregame show, I think Lee, what he did and his popularity and his knowledge of the entertainment business really caused it to take off.
All right. Thanks again to Chris Bear Fallica there of the Fox Big Noon Kickoff. They'll be on site in Columbus for the Ohio State-Texas game. Hey, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. I want to remind you guys, it's another big moment here at Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts like us. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. I'm Chris Gordon. This has been Locked On SEC. We will talk to you guys tomorrow.